No matter how I say this, it's gonna sound a little bit wanky, so let's just get into it. My minimalist journey. I feel like I keep making references in my videos to my past hoarder life, how I got into minimalism, etc. And I feel like it's important for context, but at the same time, I know that some people are just here for some quick minimalism tips, and they're not interested in my life story. So I'm making this video so I can just say to people, go check that out if you're interested, and if not, just ignore it. So today we're gonna cover my past hoarder, maximalist life, how I found minimalism, or did minimalism find me? And we'll wrap it all up in a nice little package with how I currently live my life as a minimalist, I guess. I don't know. I haven't fully scripted this, I've just written some notes and hopefully I remember to cover everything. I'm just gonna have a conversation with you, or, you know, at you. So as a child, as a wee little whelp running about the place, I was a total consumer whore. Don't know how else to put it, just a little teeny little child of consumerism. And I don't know exactly where this came from. I wouldn't say that my parents are like maximalists. I'm gonna keep using the word maximalist as a, you know, as a polar opposite to a minimalist. They're not exactly maximalists. My little brother, for example, collected probably the entire Lego Harry Potter series that was available at the time. So it was like every Lego set from movies 1 through 3. And then one day he was just like, nah, I'm not really into it anymore. And he donated the whole lot. Like, didn't give it a second thought. Was just like, not really into it, goodbye. Anyway, back to me. I collected everything. Like, absolutely everything. For example, you know at Christmas you have those bonbons or Christmas crackers and inside there's like a shitty little plastic toy? Well, we have a big family gathering for Christmas every year, not unusual. And for about 3 Christmases in a row, I would go around with a bucket and I would collect everyone's little toys that they didn't want to keep. So I kid you not, I had a bucket in my wardrobe just full of these Christmas cracker toys, which I of course never touched, but I collected them and I held onto them for years because I was like, but they're my collection of shitty Christmas cracker toys. Why? I was that level of hoardy. That's just one example, but there were many examples. And this just continued through to my teenage/young adult life, up until about 25, I think. Importantly for context, I'm a geek, I love video games. I have a video game YouTube channel as well that you can check out, but that's not important. What really got me into video games in the first place was a series called Final Fantasy, and I was absolutely obsessed. I would get anything related to Final Fantasy that I could get my hands on. I had like 5 or 6 different series of Final Fantasy figures, like whatever. I didn't just focus on one, I would get all the ones that I could find. It was too many. So I had a room full of crap at my parents' place. It wasn't this room, it was a different room at the old house. But anyway, it was full of crap. Then I moved from the country to Melbourne to go to university. Then I had an empty room in Melbourne. So of course, what did I do? I filled it with more collectibles. So I had a room here in the country that was full of crap I didn't need, and I had a room in Melbourne that was full of crap I didn't need. And I didn't feel content with life. I tried to fix that contentment issue by filling that void with even more stuff I didn't need. And shockingly, it didn't work. Those pop vinyls, you know, those guys with the big heads and the black eyes that everyone loves? So many of those. That started off as like, oh, I can just have one figure from each sort of series that I like, but then they'll all go together and it'll be nice and efficient. Cut to me about 10 seconds later, like, oops, I've got 60. I remember back when I was working my corporate job, after a long day in the office, feeling incomplete and drained because I'm spending all my time working on something that doesn't align with any of my values, I'd go shopping and buy myself some Pokemon cards at like 24 years old because I was like, oh, well, I need something to like show that the money is worth it. Like I need to buy something with the money that I'm giving my time for. I don't know. So anyway, that was my hoarder life. I finished my second degree and I decided I'm gonna move overseas to England because if not now, when? Which was a good idea, by the way. And in that year, moving up to leading overseas when I was saving money, feeling incomplete about life, feeling like something was wrong, my friend sent me a trailer to something called Minimalism, a documentary about the important things. It wasn't released yet, but literally just from that trailer, I understood that this was the right thing. This is something that I should be looking into more. It just set off sparks, you know? So the documentary is by these 2 guys called Ryan Nicodemus and Joshua Fields Milburn. If you don't know who they are, go look them up. They have 2 great TED Talks, they have a podcast, they have a documentary. everything. So while I was waiting for their documentary to be released, I went and downloaded all the episodes they had of their podcast at that time, which was about 100 episodes, I think, from memory. Anyway, listened to all of them. I'd get up in the morning, I'd go for a big long walk, and I would listen to The Minimalists. And very, very slowly, I was changing the wiring in my brain and just my overall outlook on the whole purchasing crap mindset. I also watched their TED Talks, and of course when the documentary came out, I watched the documentary and I spoke about it with all of my friends, and I got really, really into it. And since then I found other minimalists like Matt Diavella, who was actually the person who did all the filming and editing for the documentary, and Marie Kondo, all the big minimalist names. So for my first big minimalist cull, or purge as I usually call it, I went through and tackled my house room by room. So the kitchen, the bathroom, and then my bedroom. And I actually recorded it all back on my old YouTube channel. Here I am fixing my life up, back before I had long hair. I had so much stuff. And when I look back on that footage now, I'm a bit gobsmacked because I just think, how did I even consider keeping half of that stuff there? I don't understand. I had something like 50 t-shirts and I got it down to 20 during that cull. And I thought, God damn, I am so minimalist. Then I went back to my parents' house and I looked at my room here and I was like, no, I'm not. So I did another huge cull there, cleared out a bunch of stuff and thought, yes, now I am truly minimalist. And just before I moved overseas, I moved the remaining contents of my room in Melbourne back to my childhood bedroom, and it was packed, absolutely packed, like boxes of stuff sitting on every surface, wardrobe, cupboards, everything just completely full of stuff. I was just like, how is this possible? I've got rid of so much stuff. How do I still have this much stuff? But then I moved to England and I pretty much forgot about it. So everything that I took over with me to England, I fit in a big rucksack type thing and a backpack. And I didn't buy that much stuff when I was there because I knew that in 2 years' time I'd be moving back to Australia and I couldn't take everything with me. There were certain things that I had to buy, like a towel and a doona/duvet, a pillow for my bed, things like that. But for the most part, living in England's quite good because a lot of places come pre-furnished. And it was a great opportunity to try out that next level of minimalist living. I didn't have any preconceived expectations or notions from people. Then after a year, I came back here for Christmas and I looked at my bedroom here again and I was like, oh my God, anxiety, stress. So I cleared out as much stuff as I could again, went back to the UK for a year, moved back to Australia, and for the first 3 months I stayed with my parents and I just slowly worked through everything in my bedroom. Here's some footage. All this stuff, all of it here, is just the stuff that I'm eBaying. It's not the stuff that I'm donating or thrown out. KonMari method, you are to thank for this. I've not been able to clean this stuff out for 10 years. What would I do with that Marie Kondo and the minimalists? And that was not even half the stuff that was in my room. I had so much stuff. So about 90% of that stuff that you see there, I've gotten through, I've either sold or I've given up on selling and donated. And I made about $4,000, maybe $5,000 selling all that stuff, which I then subsequently spent in the time between moving back and getting a job because I was trying to not go back to retail, but I ended up going back to retail part-time anyway. Since moving back in with my parents again since the start of this whole COVID situation where I lost all of my jobs, that's another story. Well, that's pretty much the story right there. COVID happened and I lost my jobs. Anyway, I've started making these YouTube videos on a regular basis and I've sold about another $2,000 worth of stuff from the leftover things that I still had to sell. In terms of what my life looks like now, the minimalist habits that I have day to day, I pretty much never buy clothes. I do occasionally receive t-shirts as a present, like this Harry Potter t-shirt that my friends brought me back when they went to Universal Studios, but I did not have the money to go with them, and I absolutely love it. It fits perfectly. Honestly, I don't remember the last time I went out and bought a t-shirt. I own 2 pairs of jeans. I got this black pair, and I've got a blue pair. I have a pair of chinos and a pair of trackies/tracksuit bottoms. I do still have a couple of collectible things, some knick-knacky geeky stuff. I'm not exactly that quintessential minimalist who doesn't own furniture and sleeps in a hammock and doesn't have shoes. For example, I've still kept some of my Lego Lord of the Rings sets because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings geek and I think the Lego sets are super cool and they still bring me happiness. I've gotten rid of a lot of books, but I still have quite a few books and I've bought more recently. And I have quite a few video games, but I'm definitely more digital than I ever have been before in that regard. I'm gonna do a video in the future about being a minimalist and a gamer. look out for that. Overall, I've just stopped buying crap without thinking about it first. I always stop and think, is this something that I really need? Can I really afford it? Not just from a money aspect, but from every other aspect as well. Will it actually serve a purpose, or will I actually enjoy it? Will it bring me any sort of happiness? And of course, I always wait about a month before making one of those big purchases. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say I've minimized around about 75% of my stuff. I've got about 1/4 of the number of possessions as I did about 5 years ago. I don't envision this channel as being 100% strictly minimalist. It's more of an overall lifestyle channel, but I think most aspects of my life are quite heavily influenced by minimalism, so it's always going to feed into it a little bit. And at the moment, most of the ideas that come to my mind, the things that I feel energized about speaking about, are related to minimalism. So I think it's always going to be a main focus. But we'll just have to see what the future holds. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you got some value out of this video, or at least a greater understanding of me and why you might want to listen to me and take my tips. You don't have to. We're all human. I'm not necessarily right about everything, but I'll try and give you the best information that has worked for me personally. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, especially if you're starting your own minimalist journey, please feel free to click on my face, not this one, that one, because that's how you will subscribe. There's also going to be another video somewhere here where you can watch more videos that are apparently best suited for you. Adios.